Namaste. This Abraham story, the older translation made reference to the bosom of Abraham, which always reminds me of my last Episcopal rector, who was from Texas, and apparently had some sort of link there going on with the word bosom. So one summer, he decided he would alter the prayers of the people. And a line that was something like, that asked God to draw us to your heart in love, he changed to, draw us to your bosom in love. And I tried to explain to him when he told me he was going to do this, because I was on staff, that people in the North don't say bosom. And he was unpersuaded. He said, everybody says bosom. So I knew the seminarians would have to read the prayers of the people. So I found a picture of our rector, blew it up to 8.5 by 11, photoshopped one of those cartoon balloons, and it said, bosom? Who says bosom? And I slipped it into the book at the lectern between the epistle reading and the prayers of the people. So when he went up there to flip his page over, he would see it. And I was watching from behind him, the seminarian, and I could see his shoulders start to bounce. And he just had his head down. And I heard him very carefully rip 1, 2, 3, the 3 holes out of the prayers, slide them under the lectern, and continue. But it kind of raises an interesting point. Because I believe when we believe we lack, we believe that what we believe we lack will make us happy. But if we get it, we realize it doesn't. Because of one of two things. Either it's the case that that thing that we believe will make us happy, in fact, decreases in value very quickly. Either in reality or in our minds. The car you drive off the lot, and it's the new car that drops 30% when it hits the street. Or it takes more energy to maintain or hold on to the thing that we thought would make us happy than we had to expend to not have it. And so now we're exhausted, hoping against hope that this thing that was supposed to make us happy will never slip away from us. And we're miserable. That's why the suicide rate among wealthy people is in fact not lower than the rest of the population, but higher. Believing that something external to us is going to make us happy is a fool's errand. Because it doesn't matter how many times we find something that doesn't do what we thought it would do. We'll just assume that we grabbed the wrong thing. And we'll chase the next thing, and the next thing, and the next thing. All the while wondering why it is we can't be happy. Now, it turns out, all we have to do is go to a country where we don't speak the language, learn 2 words, and go empty, empty, happy, happy. But isn't it interesting that maybe he's communicating the whole truth of what holds value in just 2 words? Empty, empty means nothing lasts forever. And if you recognize that nothing lasts forever, you stand a much better chance of being happy, happy. Or maybe just 1 happy. Or 3. Who knows? But in practical terms, what that means is you drive the new car off the lot knowing that it's going to drop in value when it hits the street. You know there's no way around that, and so it shouldn't really upset you. You know that when you buy that new whatever, it's going to get dirty, it's going to get scratched, God forbid, in my house, God forbid it gets scratched. Or in some other way, it's not going to work quite like it once did. I don't know if you remember when old tube TVs used to start to go, weird things would happen to the shape of the picture. And, it'd start to move in from the edges, and we'd think, oh, that's not really happening. And then gradually it would get so distorted that there was no denying it. If you knew from the beginning that was going to happen, when it started, you'd say, I'm not going to fool myself. I'm just going to either replace this thing or recognize that it's going out, but I'm not going to prolong my agony by saying maybe it won't collapse another half inch. There's, excuse me, I think I need to drink of water. In the West, in the Christian tradition, there's a great deal of debate, and last week we were on, it was a money passage too. Is money good or bad? Money is the root of all evil. Lack of money is the root of all evil. I want to say that with very few exceptions, most things external to us are in fact morally neutral. It's how we relate to them that makes them problematic. If you don't have enough to eat, and you need a couple dollars to buy something to eat, money is a very good thing at that point, because it will allow you to buy something to eat. On the other hand, if you're like the wealthy person I referred to earlier, where you spend all your time worrying about how you're going to hold on to what you have, now that's become an evil, because it gets in the way of relationship. And if we're here for any purpose, I believe we're here to be in relationship with one another. All different kinds of relationships. And anything that becomes a barrier to that is ultimately a barrier to our reaching our full potential, more simply becoming happy, more directly, I think, encountering what it is a lot of us call God. Because there really isn't an adequate testing of what it is to be human that can happen in isolation. We can sit in a deserted mountain cave and meditate for decades, and that's great. But at some point we're going to have to come down from the mountain. And what it is to be human is going to occur when we come down from the mountain. There's a story about a famous yogi that lived in the Himalayan mountains. And an American woman decided she wanted to go see him. And she was retired, so she thought, well, I'll fly over there and talk to the yogi. And she booked a flight, and the travel agent tried to talk her out of it because it was not just a flight, but a long bus ride. And once she got near India, the conditions were going to decay rather dramatically. But she went and took the long flight, took the rickety bus ride, traveled on a rickety train, got to the base of the mountain, and was met by a monk who said, the yogi is in retreat. He's not seeing anyone for 3 months. And the woman explained that she had come a long way. This was the only opportunity she was going to have to come to the Himalayas, and could there be an exception? And the monk said he'd find out, he'd check, so he told her to wait there at the base of the mountain. He went up, checked with the yogi, came back down. He said, well, the yogi's willing to make an exception, but you can only say 10 words. She said, that'll be plenty. So the monk escorted her up the mountain to the proper cave. When she got there, as she walked over, the monk said, remember now, 10 words. She said, I know. She stood in the door of the cave and looked in, trying to see the yogi. Finally, she said, Shelton, it's your mother. Enough is enough. Come home now. We can't run away from it. We can try. But in the end, happiness is learning how to engage with others in the healthiest way possible. And not let anything be a barrier to it. Not allow ourselves to think that something else is more important than our humanity. And the flip side is to also recognize that we are worthy. We are good enough. We can do it. There's nothing that stands in our way that isn't of our own choosing. And so, if we can see that and really start to live into it, if we can let go of the nonsense, let go of the minutiae, let go of the secondary things, I believe the truth becomes apparent and we're naturally drawn to move towards it. It's not a perfection race, but it is a slow walk towards the happiness we all seek. Amen.